Hey everyone, I'm DJ.
And I'm Ish, and we're the hosts of
The Pero Let Me Tell You podcast. So, what is the Pero Let Me Tell You podcast? Well, it's two lifelong friends from Miami discussing current events, news, politics, and pop culture.
In a nutshell, we talk about anything, everything, and absolutely nothing, just like you and your friends. Look, with a healthy dose of Spanglish.
And we interview the best Latin personalities around.
Like actress Melissa Fumero.
And don't forget Harvey Ying from What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh my God, and the Olympic gymnast Daniel Leyva.
We got to hold his medals.
Yes, we did.
And then, of course, the one and only, my personal favorite dream guest, Gina Torres.
An absolute goddess. But I mean, honestly, there's just too many guests for us to list. The important thing is we're always putting the spotlight on the Latin community because we truly do believe representation matters.
Así que check out Pero Let Me Tell You podcast on all podcast streaming platforms today with new episodes dropping every Friday. And I really mean every Friday, people. And don't forget
Your croquetas,
your pastelitos, and your
cafecito.
cafecito.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fresh presents Que Hola, where we talk to various movers and hustlers who are popping off and succeeding in the 305 and at the same time influencing the culture. I'm your boy D Fig. Holla at your boy when you see me in the street. Ew. Yo pues mi gente, ¿cómo le da? Pilas pues hermanos, ya tú sabes, we in the mix, another episode of the Que Hola Podcast, aquí in excellence y triunfando, you know what it's all about. Special announcement, your boy D Fig is part of a music duo called Oro Fresco. Check us out, Oro Fresco Music. We're on Spotify. Give us a spin. Let us know what you think about the music. I bring that up because in this particular episode, we sat down with Tom Brazy Beats, a music engineer, producer, and music mogul in the making. My dog is putting in work, has put in work. It's a crazy journey that he's been on. And this episode really shines a light on all the various things that you would have to go through in order to triumph in the music industry. Without further ado, your boy, Tom Brazy Beats. Listo, let's get into it, all right? Listo. We are in the mix.
Yeah.
We're in the new episode of the Que Hola Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in, checking in with Miami, South Florida creatives, see how we doing in this mug. In the studio today, we got Tom Tom, an engineer and producer, music producer in Dade County, Miami, Florida. Holla at your boy when you see me in the street. What's up, Thomas, man?
What's good, everybody? What's up? Happy to be here. An honor to be here, actually. It's like my first real interview.
That's what's up, dog.
So,
I mean, it's long overdue.
yeah, it is long overdue. We was hitting each other up even before the pandemic.
For real, bro. We've been linking up for a minute through music production and through creative outlets here in South Florida. We met through the Flex.
Yes, the Flex.
You
Wow,
remember
what a
the
throwback.
Flex? The Flex.
What a throwback, the Flex.
Yeah, man. The Flex was a move right there, dude.
That was a whole move. That was a movement here in the city.
Yeah.
For real. We had a whole bunch, almost every local artist that I knew about at that time. And some I had no idea about pulled up.
Yeah, and just like showing and sharing creative expression and bringing all those like various people together. Mostly musicians, but it wasn't only musicians. Like there were dancers, there were also producers, there were also hosts, there were also video creators. Like a lot of various creatives that came together for that show, the host, which was just like. Well, like, how would you describe it? It was like a showcase of music creatives here in South Florida?
Yeah, a showcase of music creatives, talents, artists, and as well as a competition I felt the competition end of it really got everybody to try their hardest to show up and, give it their 100. And it was cool because I got to see everybody try their best.
Yes.
And when I got to see real talent out there. Some people were like shocked me. I didn't even know that there was that much talent, just
in
here
South
in the
Florida.
city. Yeah.
There's a lot of producers and engineers and creatives and that are just like what do you call it? Armchair producers or like in the studio, like they never leave their little studio. They never have a place to showcase their talent.
I don't know if there's a name for them outside of just, I guess you would call them bedroom producers.
Bedroom producers, exactly.
Bedroom producers.
And musicians and everything.
Yeah, bedroom musicians. A lot. There's, I mean, we live in the age of the internet. You don't need school to be a great musician. You don't need school to learn the secrets of music to better yourself. So, you know, there's a whole generation of bedroom producers, bedroom musicians coming out, and that's probably the one thing that, you know, they're working hard in their own little space and crafting their art, but you know, you post it on SoundCloud, you post it on your social media, you don't get that many spins. So that Flex event was a nice little opportunity for people to come together, showcase their stuff.
Yeah, man, that was dope, man. It was dope how we linked up through that. One time, shout out to Khalil and Rax.
Rax.
Yeah, man, like all the yourself, everybody who was involved in that, and that's how we basically met each other through that particular function. It was dope because it did bring all those people out, right? And such as like yourself, I got to meet a creative such as yourself, and we've been fucking with each other like in that particular movement ever since then. How would you? Okay, so you are an engineer and a producer. What would you put yourself? How would you title yourself first? Would you say like my strong suit is I'm a engineer first, or I'm a producer first?
I am a music maker above all.
Okay.
I am a sound creator. I am a manifester of audio.
Okay.
That is what I am first and foremost. I guess the best title that kind of describes what I really do is producer. But I'm also a mix engineer, mastering engineer, recording engineer. I've tried to practice and master and learn every little craft of the game that gets you from silence to the finished product of the audio.
Yeah.
My whole life I grew up having music in my head.
Yeah.
Still to this day, it's like there's a jukebox in there that I can't really turn off.
Yeah.
And I'm just always tuning in for the frequencies. And when you tune into a radio station or something that you just hear that whoo,
Yeah.
that amazing sound or whatever, then my kind of life is to get that image in my head and then make it come out of speakers, make it get manifested in a way that other people could listen to it.
Bring it to fruition.
Yeah, bring it to fruition.
All right.
So,
all right. But I mean, all right, so you said you started off even before you like went professionally, you were doing this in school, is this something that like you were considering, I'm going to go into this profession, leaving school, or was it something that like happened after?
So I actually knew I was going to be a producer from very, very early. I knew I was going to be doing music for the rest of my life. As the earliest memories I have, being 3 years old,
Okay.
I used to play the piano. My grandma would put me on top of the piano and play. So growing up, I always had some form of musical discipline. I didn't really have teachers or anything very structured, but I was always on top of the piano playing, taking my imagination and trying to carve it out.
Yeah.
Over time, when I became a little bit older, around like 12 and 13, I started, I had a computer. I started having access to the internet. I started researching more and more about music theory, scales, anything that I could use to take my piano playing to the next level. And I also picked up, my grandma bought me an electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started taking it even further because then I took the learning scales on the guitar was a little bit more straightforward for me.
Yeah.
Made a lot more sense. And then I would apply what I learned on the guitar to the piano, and then learn stuff on the piano, apply it to the guitar.
Shout out grandma.
Yeah, shout out grandma. Shout out grandma. No, that's actually a very beautiful story.
For real, man.
I used to always just do music, but I grew up with my mom, and my mom was never very serious about me doing music. My mom's one of them very straight edge, more traditionalist people. There's like, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not a doctor, if you're not a
traditional professions.
Yeah, if you're not one of those traditional professions, you are a bum.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean, that's very common in South Florida, especially. I mean, what's your background from?
I'm Brazilian.
You're Brazilian,
I'm all Brazilian, full-blown, Brasil, São Paulo.
Okay, so then, that's a very, like, Latin America thing. Like,
yeah, no, super old-school Latin American. My mom was like, if you ain't doing that stuff, all you're doing is living off a hobby. You're bumming.
That's so wild how, like, our parents had that experience coming from Latin America. They don't consider those professions that are now so sought after, the creative profession.
Yeah.
They didn't consider like something you could really do as a profession for your whole entire life. You know?
I mean, especially coming from South America,
Yeah.
that is something we do have to understand in our parents' generations, that they did see it as an impossibility.
Yeah.
Because if you grew up in a country with millions and millions of people, where the only real musicians that were famous were, such a small fraction of the population, and then every other person basically didn't even have money, because no other jobs had money to make either. So you bet the musicians didn't have anything.
For sure.
Unlike some older generations here in America that started seeing more people have that local success, or being able to have some type of musical career success, because
Just to sustain yourself.
But yeah, she had that mentality, but luckily my grandma didn't listen to her and bought the guitar. It was a funny day too, because my mom was telling my grandma I would never play that guitar again.
Damn,
I
you
would
remember
pick it up
that?
and play. Of course, she was telling my grandma the whole time she was buying that guitar that she was wasting her money.
Damn, dog. Shout out grandma for pushing
Shout out
me
grandma,
forward,
really,
bro.
for real, for believing in me, and no matter what.
And believing in your creative talents.
Yeah.
So that was around like 14 years old when you actually got into that.
Yeah, 13.
Okay.
13 years old, I remember very well. And then that started getting me into playing and writing my music. So I always wanted to write music, but when I started getting the ideas of the scales and harmony a little bit better, and structure, and studying a little bit of the songs that I loved, and some of the works of the greats, I started then putting songs together. And that's when producing came around, and that's when I kind of started realizing, like, okay, what I really want to do is I want to make music. So then I had a computer, and I was pretty tech savvy growing up. My dad used to build Windows 98 systems back in the 90s and whatnot. So I grew up in front of a Windows computer with an MS-DOS prompt.
Learning the DOS.
Yeah. So I was pretty computer savvy even as a young kid. And then that's when I started okay, my mom wasn't going to buy me a lot of this software that I needed to make music. So I started going on to the Pirate Bay and all these sites. And I found a pirated version of a music software and stuff. And
Of a DAW.
Yeah, of a DAW. First DAW I ever used was Guitar Pro 5. It was just for writing, and I used it just to write the musical notations. And then I went on to FL Studios, mainly because I didn't like the sounds that were built into Guitar Pro. And then when I had FL Studios, I remember the first time I opened it up, saw the little jalapeno, and that was the rest of my life right there.
You still use guitar?
FL Studios. FL and Pro Tool user. Hardcore. Shortcut, all the shortcuts, all the internal functions, every little nick and cranny of it. But yeah, then I started to make the music on FL right then and there. And throughout high school, I was a producer. So I would produce a lot of music in high school, all different kinds. Mainly, it was the early 2010s, so house music was the defining genre. Everything had a house remix. I was doing a bunch of that. Just very early productions. And then when I got into college, I continued producing, knowing that I was going to be a producer. I went into FIU. I first was a composition major, but I knew I was going to be a producer. The reason I went to FIU was because I needed to move out of my mom's house. I couldn't make music there. I just couldn't live there. Every time I'd be making music, working on anything, my mom would barge in through the door, and my mom's not the nicest person in the world, so it wasn't a very nice environment. It was an environment I could work at all. So moved out, went to FIU. FIU had offered me a scholarship, plus some of the help from my family in Brazil and whatnot. I was able to get out and practice music at FIU. So I got a scholarship for composition.
So you actually so in high school, did you get classically trained? Or where did you get classically trained on the music side?
It was during high school. I had some music lessons, but the music lessons that I did have was mainly guitar stuff, and I would ask the teacher to teach me music theory. I would be like, hey, just don't teach me songs, just teach me everything theory. When I was in school, I took AP theory and stuff, but I was always an avid theory learner.
So you were like self-teaching though? The vast majority of like the knowledge that you learned for producing was like you would seek it out yourself.
All really
it's not
self-taught.
like you had like teachers who that's what you did outside of school and stuff like that to learn music theory or anything like that.
No, I had a few music theory teachers, but nothing like nobody I could call and be like, okay, this
like a mentor or anything like that.
No, it was really like YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube and
YouTube University
YouTube University, the old school YouTube University.
Yeah.
There was very, very little content on what I really wanted to learn. And And once you did absorb kind of that base content, there was very little content of the upper echelon levels available at that early 2013, 2014.
Yeah, now
era.
there's tons of it.
Yeah, now there's
How to get the right sound, exactly.
No, there's everything. You could PhD level.
Yeah,
you can go
PhD
from
on YouTube.
You could literally go from kindergarten to PhD on YouTube.
On anything.
On anything.
Almost, yeah.
Almost damn near anything.
Yeah, it's wild, though.
But yeah, so I started producing, and when I got into college, that's when I started realizing I would show these productions to people, and the thing that would kind of detract from it was the mixing. I couldn't get the, the music was right, the notes were right, the timing was right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't translate. So then I began to study engineering and study the physics of the sound, and I went really, really heavy into that. Towards the later half of my college days, I switched from music composition to music business, because I was able to take music internship as a class. And I was able to, make like 12 credits off of that.
Yeah.
So I started the music internship process. I eventually landed into the studio that I work for today.
Okay.
It's called Audio Vision Studios.
All right.
Beautiful story on that, because when I started the internship class, the first week or something was to... Essentially, some people already had internships, or they were supposed to get internships before the class and whatnot. I was unable to. So the first week was for everybody who didn't get an internship to prep their resume, to send it out.
Try to find a spot.
Exactly, to send it out with the teacher and whatnot. And I had prepped a resume, and I had everything I felt I really needed as an intern in the field.
Yeah.
I sent it out to 9 different studios with the teacher, and I was rejected by all of them.
Yeah.
For free work.
Yeah, that's
for
tough,
free work.
dude.
It was really tough. And I was like, damn, what this? I didn't even believe it, because I knew I wasn't the best at that time, but I knew I had
something.
I knew
offer,
I had something to offer more than at least some of my peers that was going and applying at the same time and scoring these internships like left and right. And I'm like, man,
what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
So Karen Fuller, shout out Karen Fuller from FIU, started telling other classes, or if anybody had a internship opportunity, just start asking the students.
Yeah.
One girl came up to me after class, and she's like, "Hey, Karen was talking about how you needed music internship opportunities. My boyfriend just got promoted at this big studio. They need interns." Da, da, da. Cool. Sent her my info with the resume. She forwarded it to her boyfriend. He hit me up. He asked me a whole bunch of questions through text. I kind of fluffed up the answers just to get anything.
Yeah.
I was real desperate, a young kid at the time.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I don't hear it back from them for 3 months.
Yeah. Jeez.
I'm in a summer class at this point. Semester's already over. Which I got an A for music internship. I was the first kid to get an A, I think.
With no internship.
Because the teacher's like, bro, we tried.
Yeah,
She even didn't know how to say it. Like, right.
Like, yo, I tried.
You tried.
Yeah.
You did. This is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
So I got a call in the middle of a summer class, and it was Johnny Mars.
Okay.
Who now is my manager, but he was managing the studio, and he called me. And he said, "Hey, I got this resume here for you. We're looking to do some interviews today. Can you come in? Oh, I got work today, and I'm in class right now. I can't really come in. Can we schedule for tomorrow?" And he hit me with "We're not really doing interviews tomorrow."
Yeah, like you better. It's today.
It's nothing, man. Yeah. Oh man, I called out of work. I took the fastest shower ever. I did so many illegal maneuvers in the turnpike and the 995 to get to the studio. I got there like 2 minutes before my interview time. I had no resume printed, nothing, man. Got there and like sat down. Yeah, and I was just like, bro, I have to do something. I gotta try. I walked into the kitchen room when we was doing the interviews. I see Johnny for the first time. He's like, "Hey, what's up? You got a resume for me?" I'm like, "Oh man, I had told you I probably was gonna have time to print my resume out because I'm gonna be rushing you." He's like, "Okay, a slacker." It's okay. We like slackers here.
That's funny.
Starts off the interview like that.
Damn.
No, but I sat down and I.
That's fucked up. That's crazy.
Johnny puts the pressure on you for real. He wants to see if you could handle it.
Yeah.
But man, I had nothing to lose. You feel me? I sat down. I looked him dead in the eye. I told him, "This is my life. This is more than my dreams. This is my purpose.
Yeah.
I am here to make music. I don't go to sleep. I don't eat.
Yeah.
all I do is want to make music. I work any hours, crazy hours, night, day, it doesn't matter.
Give me a spot.
Give me a spot, anything.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of like, okay, well, if he was really that desperate, asked me to play a song from my phone and stuff. I played
something you had made.
Yeah, a little production I was working on at the time. He was like, all right, dope.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. I was with Audio Vision for a whole year as an intern, which is a lot longer than almost any intern does nowadays.
Yeah.
It's a different time.
Where we're at now.
Yeah, now at Audio Vision, we have a whole system. People don't usually spend more than like 3 or 4 months
in the internship program.
Versus 12.
Yeah, like a whole year.
Yeah. But either way, I did that thing, and then around the time I got promoted to be an engineer and whatnot, I got into a really nasty car accident.
Oh, snap.
And that was the time I had met Khalil around that time.
Yeah.
And we was talking about moving in with each other.
Yeah.
And 2 other creatives to just be making music at a crib. And I had also gotten him a job as a music teacher by where I taught.
Yeah.
And also he was doing the internship stuff with me at Audio Vision for a little bit, but he drifted on from that. But I had to make a choice between being close to Audio Vision with no car and take a risk. I didn't have any clients. I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Or move closer to where I taught.
Yeah.
So I had to make the growing up choice. I moved where I was teaching at the time. I moved in with Khalil.
Yeah.
Khalil, Pat, and Ronnie, and we was at a crib for 2 years.
Yeah, that place was
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, I went through it.
Crib. I love
that was a nice spot, dog.
That was a nice spot. A nice backyard. The studio was on the little
in the back.
The room. Yeah, that was the back that went into the backyard. So all the windows led to it. It was a real nice spot. And honestly, it was I consider those 2 years. The 2 years where I became the engineer that I am today, or the producer that I am, that I really had that formative period where I had learned, or I had saw what the professionals was doing at Audio Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Even before that, I had practiced an immense amount of time. I wasn't going out. I wasn't partying. I was sacrificing a lot of social life for this. And so I had felt I had done the research. I saw what they was doing.
Yeah.
So I understood what my metric was for passing and what I needed to be at least doing and what I had to improve on.
Yeah.
So for those 2 years, I would take the system that they had at Audio Vision, implement it into that little home studio, and then continuously improve upon it, and always studying. And you can interview any of the other people from that crib and ask like what I was doing during that time. I was in there in my underwear at 5 a.m, 6 a.m, watching the sun come up in that studio every night.
I recall going there and seeing you work a lot. Like every time I would link up with Khalil, I would swing through or whatever, I would see you working in the studio a lot in that particular thing. But you touched on something that's very huge, right? So actually you touched on 2 things, right? So any potential producer or engineer or anybody who wants to be in the music industry, first and foremost, you said you sacrificed a lot of your social life to learn the skill set that is required to be a professional.
To learn and master it.
To learn and master the skill set. And secondly, you also said you were looking at the ones that were doing it already. So you had some kind of a roadmap or a mentorship that would help you get to where it is that you have to go, right?
I would say, I don't know if you said mentorship.
Yeah, like mentorship, like a mentor or somebody who could show you what it is that you should be striving for.
So I wouldn't really consider too much of a mentorship. I did pick up stuff from my time at Audio Vision. I think the main mentor I had was Johnny there.
Okay.
As in, he would force me to be on Pro Tools and force me to make wrong decisions, and then be like, hey, you're not doing it right. Hey, you're not
Yeah.
But in terms of engineering and whatnot, I didn't get to spend a lot of time in the rooms with the engineers that were there at the time. And whatever little thing I picked up on, I would,
grasp it,
and then, and go home and practice it. It was more on seeing that, like seeing from the wings. They wouldn't really explain to me a lot of stuff, just looking and then making the inferences for myself, being like, okay, this is what he's doing, this is what he's doing, this is what he's getting, this is the final product. He did all of this while recording by doing this, and that.
I mean, so doing that requires focus, understanding what it is that you're trying to do. You got to know, what am I doing here as an intern? What is it that I'm trying to achieve right now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how hard is that whole entire experience as a up and coming producer / engineer? You know, how because it's like, if you were like, I know a lot of people who are in the music industry who are trying to be producers, trying to be engineers, but they don't have that highly skilled, not highly skilled, but like they don't have that focus to like put all the other things aside to really focus on, I want to build this skill set and I need to learn from people who are doing it. Whether they're teaching me or not, I got to be around that atmosphere.
Yeah, whether they're teaching me or not, I got to be around it. I have to be there to see it happening. So then that way I could say, I can do it better, or I can't do it better.
Or I could even try to do it similar.
Similar, yeah.
Maybe not necessarily I could do it better, but I could come close to doing it.
I always try to shoot for the better, man.
100%. I feel you that. Yeah.
It's either I'm not doing it right or I'm doing it better.
Yeah, exactly. Either I'm not doing it right or I'm not doing it. But it did require a lot of sacrifice, which a lot of people don't want to do.
Yes, that is definitely one thing I've seen from a lot of my peers and a lot of people that work with me. A lot of people that came in and out of the studio, is that it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's actually very sad, because I was, especially those 2 years I was living in that house, I would see Khalil, Pat, and Ronnie go out all the time, come back with like girls, come back with like friends, you know, throw parties and stuff. And I'd be there. And it wasn't very nice for some time. And, you know, and especially not nice when you see other people. But it didn't bother me as much, because I always loved being there. I always loved bouncing out the track that I worked on until 8 a.m, going to my bed. At that time, I would just walk over to my room and whatnot, play it on my phone, and you know, go to sleep and wake up at night. But yeah, it requires a lot of sacrifice, and that's one thing I feel that the earlier you realize it, the earlier you commit to that sacrifice and accept that sacrifice as a natural part of the process in life, the quicker you can get to a good level, the quicker you can get to a mastery of what you're trying to get to, and then utilize that mastery to move up the ranks. Because people could actually move up the ranks without the mastery, but you know, it's tricky, and there's only so much ranks you can move up before you get like...
you got to show the goods.
Yeah, before you got to show the goods.
Exactly. You could talk a lot of shit.
And music business, man, there is a lot of people out there that talk a lot of shit, moved really high up without doing much, but that's their path that they chose. I want to manifest. That is my number one goal, to manifest. My number two goal is to create something that I could live off, that my family could live off, that my grandkids could live off. And you know, also be responsible for that, because as much as I love music, I also love my family. I also love, you know.
Yeah. So okay. So those are the two competing. Those are the two competing feelings. Yeah. I really want to do something I love and get it to the point where it's mastered, where I have a mastery of it. Yeah. But I also want to sustain myself and my family
and create a future.
Like it's. I understand what you're saying. I'm a creative myself, so those two things have always been a dichotomy where I'm always trying to find either a way to do it together, or one has to sacrifice over the other.
So yes, that's actually a very, very interesting topic, and it's been almost a life journey to come to some type of happy medium between them two. And from what I noticed is that there's not always a happy medium. There's always kind of like a scale that you can go one way or the other, and as you move up and you study Billboard hits, that's one thing I also think, that Billboard hits, at least from the last 4 or 5 years, have been getting better and better and better at doing some type of happy medium, where you have this harmonically rich, complex song with rich rhythms, and it's very catchy, and it's very sellable. And it's you could play it anywhere, and it's just an overall good song that your abuelita and your little kids could...
They could all jam to it.
They could all jam to it, and even you could jam to it, non-ironically, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a trick. That requires a lot of forethought. That requires a lot of compromises that aren't compromises, like figuring out a way to get both of them to work. I feel I've been doing a bit more of that project very lately with an artist I've been producing called Jodeci Bird.
Okay.
And we have a big catalog of music coming up, and a lot of the songs there, especially the last song that came out. It's called WID.
Okay. I was listening to it earlier. It's pretty good.
Yeah, so that's one song. It's the topic could be slightly adult.
Yeah.
And whatnot if you look at it through the lens of an adult.
Yeah.
But we've tailored the lyrics and everything to be kind of, if you were a kid, those lyrics don't make sense or they mean other things as a kid.
Yeah, it's ambiguous.
It's ambiguous as a kid.
You're like,
can't wait for you to slide tonight. Like a kid.
Yeah, doesn't understand.
Doesn't really understand that, and a little bit of details on the lyrics. So that's one way we can kind of get it in between.
Yeah.
I feel also, believe it or not, Disney movies are a really good example of some of those things because take The Lion King, for example.
Bro.
Call it a kid's movie, but man, be real, man. You watch it as an adult, man.
It has a
lot of power. It has a lot of meaning behind it.
A lot of adult themes.
Yes, and a lot of those themes are very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So trying to take those ideas into music where we're not just, because with music you have, I feel like 4 or 5 abstractions that really make the music.
Yeah.
One is the harmonic element of it, the frequency. 2 is the rhythm. 3 is the texture element of it. So you have your harmony, melody, your rhythm, your texture, kind of the different instruments that you're picking.
Yeah.
And now we have also the conceptualization behind it. So what that means is the lyrics. The lyrics add or focus to the music. It throws the music into a stage. Mm-hmm. It sets the stage for the music. Yeah. And having that blend between the two. But I don't really work too much with lyrics. Yeah. With Jodeci, she'll write all the lyrics and then she'll present them to me, and I'll make the melody. And
you try to provide guidance for it. But
yeah, exactly. I take the words and the meanings, and I want to keep every meaning, every punchline, everything that gives the poetry meaning, but execute it in a musical way where the music complements the meaning. Yeah, and enunciates, accentuates the meaning of the lyrics.
All right, so you, bro, 100%. I credit that. Like you decided, all right, this is the field I want to go into. I want to create music. I want to sacrifice my time, my social life to try to achieve something within this music industry. During the time that you're sacrificing and you're doing this, you're also working a part-time and trying. I mean, you have to sustain yourself in some way.
Yes. So that was an important element of my life up until about the pandemic. Okay. Right before the pandemic, I moved out of that crib. Yeah. But I didn't move out of it because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember you guys were just like, oh, we gotta.
Yeah, the lease was gonna be up in February, and we had already agreed to move out. And this is like December 2019, so they're talking about COVID in China as a joke, right? Yeah, they're making little memes a little bit here and there. No one really understood what was about to happen.
No, for sure.
So I already go to the teaching job and I tell them, bro, I want out. Mm-hmm. I'm moving, and that was a moment. So up until that moment of my life, when I went into college, a friend named Mark. Shout out to Mark from Locos Peruana. Okay. He gave me the teaching job when around the first few weeks of FIU, because I was desperate looking for a job. I was just about a week away, honestly, a few days away from sending my application to like retail stores. Yeah. Because
you needed some guap.
I needed some guap, bro. Yeah. I moved out. I was 18, 19. Yeah. I needed guap. Yeah. But he got me that teaching job, and I did that teaching job for 4 to 5 years.
So that sustained you.
That sustained me during my
industry.
Yeah, during my formative years before I went in, and became an engineer at Audiovision. So
like a professional engineer.
Like a professional, where all the money I was making was all from producing, engineering, recording. Yeah. Before that, it was the teaching, and I always tell people that I understand the struggle. A lot of people need jobs to sustain themselves. My best advice was always, if you are a musician, a producer, and you want to continuously do that, and you're young. If you know how to play an instrument, focus on that instrument, at least get a teaching job. Because if you can teach your instrument and make the money, the time that you're spending working is not totally lost. Yeah. That is what you want to avoid as a young producer, musician, anything in the music industry. You want to avoid as much lost time as possible because there are only 24 hours in a day. Yeah. And your competition could be me, a crazy motherfucker that's not going to sleep. Yeah. That's working every day of the week like a madman, that's sacrificing his body, his time, his social life to win. So that's sometimes, every little hour, every second counts. So because I was teaching, while I was teaching the kids, I had an instrument in my hand.
Yeah.
As the kid was running the scale, I was there, you know, with the guitar off, practicing my skills, writing my songs, doing things as much as I can in the little cracks of
And
not
still
doing.
in that space.
And still in that space.
And still in the musical space.
And still in the musical space.
Damn.
And when I moved out of that crib,
Yeah.
oh,
It's all good. Let it go.
when I moved out of that crib, that's when I took the risk.
Yeah.
I took a really, really, really big risk. I had called Johnny. I'm like, Johnny, it's been 2 years since I've been at Audiovision. I'm ready to be an engineer now. I got everything I need. I practiced I'm ready. I'm good on Pro Tools now, and everything. And Johnny took a chance with me because honestly, the owners at the time didn't want to have me back because I had disappeared for 2 years. When they had known me, they didn't see me as the best engineer at the time. And there was also a book, like there was another manager there that would get a lot of clients, and he would get most of the clientele, and he didn't know me at all.
Yeah.
So I took a chance. Johnny vouched for me when I was there. I moved out. I didn't have a second job. I moved out in the end of January. It was a really, really, really nasty time in my life. My grandfather had passed 2 weeks before.
Sorry to hear that.
My cat that I had for 19 years passed. And
sorry about that.
Yeah,
man.
and I was dating this girl that was saying, you know, she was in love with me and shit, that we was in love, and then found out that was some bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
Fuck.
all at the same time, and I'm moving out of the crib, like
A conversion of bad news.
a conversion of bad news. The homies at the crib wasn't exactly quick to pay their ends of the security deposit back because they took a lot of that security deposit out from me.
Yeah.
So I literally spent the last bit of money I had saved up all those years to move into that new crib.
Yeah.
To this apartment building right next to Audiovision.
Yeah. Just because it was close
Just
and
because
you were like,
I needed to be there. I needed to be able to be called within, hey, such and such can't make it. Can you be here in 5 minutes?
I'm there.
I'm there. 2 a.m. Hey, can you come be here in 5 minutes? I'm there.
Yeah.
So I moved specifically for that. I moved there end of January into February. I get settled. End of February, the whole country closes down due to fucking COVID. Yeah. So I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I spent the last of my money on this. The studio has to close down because it's when they first closed down, it was all non-essential businesses by law had to be out. So for the first month, I toasted every little bit of cash I had.
Yeah.
That was my reserve. The only thing that saved me the next month of all the close down was I had a friend who had an album that he needed mixed mastered. And it was like 10 songs and whatnot. And he came through with that, man. Shout out to Lewis for that.
All right.
It was an indie album.
That's what's up.
And then the studio opened up. A lot of the engineers didn't want to come back because they was afraid of COVID.
Yeah.
I went in there and, you know, at that point I was so broke. I was heartbroken. I was, you know, I didn't have any help. I was really alone. I was in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Damn.
And my roommate was my best friend. He left.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't afford the
He
rent
couldn't
anymore. He
afford
left
it,
back to Portland. So I'm here having to pay for a 2-bedroom apartment, 0 money, no real job. Studio opened back up. I go in there. They starting to get a lot of clients because as soon as they open it, because, you know, a lot of rappers don't really care about COVID, never did.
Yeah. They were just like, we need to get back in here. And
yeah,
record.
and the clubs was all closed, so they needed to go to the studio. You couldn't tour, you couldn't do anything, but you could go to the studio
and make music.
and make music. So as soon as that opened up, we started getting a lot of online clientele. There wasn't a lot of engineers, and the other manager didn't want to put me on because he didn't know me.
Yeah.
But Johnny vouched for me. I looked at him dead in the eye one day, and I told him, "Bro, put me on. I'm ready. I'm willing to die for this."
Yeah.
And it was really a fact that I had to admit because at that time it was scary. I didn't know much about COVID or whatnot. We didn't know what was up. I could have really just been risking my life.
Yeah, you could have.
Which I actually was, but that's continuing. I started working there thinking that COVID was gonna be what was gonna really put me to bed.
Yeah.
So I started doing these sessions, and at that point I didn't care. I was like, I'm willing to die for this.
Yeah.
If I die recording, trying to make my dreams come true,
At least I did what I wanted to do.
that's what it had to be.
Yeah.
I went out trying. So I went in there and I started recording, and I got a lot of like rap session, a lot of rappers, man. It was some trenches shit.
Yeah.
But I had a very good rapport with them. Every client that came in really loved my workflow, my sound. Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
And yeah, he gave me one client. He really loved it. That became my client for a long time. Then another one, and then every client I had really wanted to stick with me.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful story because I was I was in the brink of the abyss. I was really about to like collapse, have to, not foreclose, but get evicted and everything. And then within 1 month, I started getting a lot of sessions to the point that I was just there every week, nonstop, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day. And I was doing it every day, Sunday through Sunday.
And you've worked with some really big artists.
Yes, and then that was the time I kind of formed, and I hit the road running. I would say that COVID wasn't my scary thing because a lot of the early sessions I did was a lot of rap sessions, a lot of scam rap, a lot of people that got their money in some ways outside of
questionable ways.
They was from the streets, man. It was a lot of street shit, and it was a lot of guns, and that was the first time that I really got into
and a lot of guns,
bruh. It was a lot, and then that's when I stopped being afraid of COVID.
I feel you
at completely because I'm there, bro. The chances of me dying of COVID versus the chances of me dying from a stray bullet, from a gun falling and shooting me, man. I went there every day, and I'll tell y'all, I went there every day during COVID. I'm sorry, Mom. With no mask, no vaccine, no nothing. I would just take vitamin D supplements every day.
Trying to get it in.
Yeah, man, and didn't get sick.
That's what's up, bro.
Didn't get sick at all, and established myself as one of the main engineers there. Eventually became one of the lead engineers.
Yeah.
And during that time of recording, and I was big into recording. That was my main thing. I was just there recording. Every now and then I'd mix, and I'd try to throw some productions around during that time. And I got to work with some big people. I got to work with Jason Derulo. I got to work with Freddie Gibbs.
Ooh, that's what's up.
I got to work with, I worked with Spot 'em Got 'em on a few different songs before he blew up and stuff. So that was another funny thing to see somebody before they really blow up and stuff, before your friends start talking about them and you're there.
Making music with them,
making music with them, punching them in.
That's dope, dog.
I worked, it's a few different cool people. Smoke Perp I've worked with a few different times. I'd have to pull up my
I know that you have a long list of like clientels and artists that you've worked with.
I'd be forgetting Danny Ocean,
a lot of like big clients.
Assisted some sessions,
and I know you've been doing a lot of that. So then that goes into my other questions that I had with you. Now that you're a professional engineer, you're working behind the scenes, you're working with major artists, and you're getting these sounds together. What are the skill sets that you think that engineers need in order to get things done professionally when they're working with clients? Like, how do you figure out this is my client? How do you figure out I gotta book X amount of sessions to get X amount of commissions or how does that work?
The engineering game is, from what I see, is two-part. It's one for recording. So recording engineers and what you do at that very moment and what they leave at the studio for whatever hours. So recording engineers usually charge whatever rate hourly, and then there's mix engineers who will often just charge per the mix.
Per song.
Yeah, per song. Or per album or per, collection.
And what's generally the difference between both?
The difference is that as a recording engineer, you're there in charge of the capturing process of the audio. You're there to make sure that the recording is done properly at the right angles with no noise, as well as you can. Because an engineer, as much as we say, we often think engineers as somebody that just spends all day doing math equations and whatnot.
Yeah.
And in our business, that's not the case at all. But it actually should be the case, and that's one thing. It's half, I would say, as an engineer, knowing whether or not how to work it is half knowing your clientele, and then half knowing the engineering part of it and being ready for anything that you need
to capture the audio the best, so it could be fucked with in post.
Yes, that that's the job description. But a lot of recording engineers go above and beyond. During my time at Audiovision, I was really, really a firm believer of, when they leave here with something that sounds very, very close to what the final image is. Mm-hmm. So I was big into doing the recording process in a way that I was able to, as I recorded the takes, do the editing on them as the other takes is being recorded. So as they would do the line, punch me in. As I would before I would even drag it down, I'd start the play head. It would play. I would drag it down. It would play it. And as he's recording the next one, I would start doing effects or EQ edits or compression edits, whatever, onto the vocals itself. So it was always a consistent motion from recording to punching in. So there was never any dead time. I was really there in those rooms, like
cranking out good sounds.
Yeah. Because a lot of engineers or recording engineers will record
and just chill.
All right, it was good. Record. Yeah, and I was really into, what can I do in those times?
Yeah, provide the most value as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Cause I also wanted people to leave there and play their mix and be like, hey, that's Tom Brazy's work. Like this, I wanted it to sound good coming out of the studio and everything. And also, I'm gonna be very honest, I don't like bad sounding shit. I can't stand being in the room with some shitty sounding things. Like I gotta make it good. I gotta manifest my imagination. It pains me to hear something that is like almost untapped potential. It's just yelling to me to change it, modify me. Like manifest what you're hearing. So
that's what's up, man.
So yeah, that's the two ends. So kind of that recording engineer is half record engineer, half mix master.
Yeah. Because
believe it or not, if you do work like that, a lot of clients will just drop the song like on their SoundCloud, or whatever, right after the studio.
Yeah.
And a lot of mixing engineers don't really like that because then it's like, now I got to compete with somebody that's giving the recording and the mix in the same session.
If it's record, I hear what you're saying, because if you provide a client such a great track that it's like almost pre-mixed, then when you take those tracks and you put it into the post where you can add the effects and all, it's already like...
That's the thing I always tell clients. Even though it sounds really good coming out of the studio and they'll post it because they think it sounds perfect, it could sound a lot better.
It could sound a lot better.
I always tell them, like, man, I could really take this and make this what I'm hearing it in my head.
Yeah.
But we got to do mixing and mastering. That requires not just more time, it also requires time to reflect. A good mix requires a reflection period.
Yeah.
It requires a period of you're manifesting your imagination. And once you're hearing, it's like, wow, this is really my imagination. You got to be able to walk away, go to sleep. Even as a producer, like, wow, this is really knocking or whatever. All these little instruments, all the melodies are in the right place. You got to be able to walk away, and then tomorrow hear the track. And then if everything is in the right place and every pocket in your mind is being filled with the music that's playing, then it's ready. But it requires that period of reflection. So, a lot of people kind of think that, this engineer mixes and masters as he records. Yes and no. He does it, but he doesn't really do it to what it should be done. Or
he's just providing you
a better, something that you can go home.
A better value than any other recording engineer will probably provide.
Yeah. And a lot of the decisions I make, because I also find that there's two types of mix engineers, or at least two types of mixing decisions. There's the ones that are meant to refine the sound, meaning that you're meant to like kind of make the things that are already there work together well with each other and balance. And then there's the decisions that you're meant to create new sounds. You're meant to take it out of this world. So a lot of the things I do in my recording process involves big delays, big reverbs that happen.
Risers and things like that.
Certain phrases in a phone, certain phrases distorted.
Yeah.
Certain words with a lower tone underneath it. Very specific phrases doubled on the sides.
Yeah.
And getting all of those to work, that's, blending the art with the science. So the science enables you to fulfill your art.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. I mean, and that's just the engineering side. Now you've really hyper-focused now on the production side, where now you're trying to bring your vision, your audio vision to fruition with other recording artists. And you're doing all those steps for yourself. Now you're starting off from the very beginning where there's no sound.
Yeah.
You're creating that sound, and then you're refining it. And you're refining it to try to get it to a point where it's the most professional version of it that you could possibly make.
The right version of it.
The right version.
The right version of it. I think professional is like at a certain threshold or metric where things sound very, very right.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's, the various levels of amazing, incredible, and then legendary. Where it's like, this shit's so good, I'll play it in the next 200 years and it's still a slapper. Like,
bro, So, I've been fucking around with the music industry for a while. I've been fucking with you since way back. Yeah. I have the new group, Oro Fresco, me and my friend, Jesus. He's a producer as well. And throughout the experience that we just dropped a debut album, right? It was our first album. It's just 3-song EP. It's called Oro Fresco. If you guys are out there, check it out. Throughout our entire experience, we're always trying to achieve like that. What you just said, like, bro, that sounds professional, and then trying to get it to the other notches, right?
Yeah.
There's such a vast difference between like that sounds good to that sounds fucking awesome. You know, it's like
there's a reaction to like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reaction like, oh, that's good, bro. I like your music. It's cool. It's fucking.
Yeah.
And then you hear some other shit like, damn, like what? What that shit? And then, but then you're self-critical. You're like, bro, my shit don't sound nothing like that. How the fuck do I get it?
That's part of the growing process. Is the beauty of it. That's the whole beauty of it, of being challenged and overcoming the challenge and finding a way to overcome the challenge, and being like, okay, I'm not there yet. What am I not doing?
Yes.
That's not there. What am I missing?
What am I missing, or who can help me in this situation? Because I'm a firm believer that like you could only take on as many hats as you can, basically. There's certain hats that's not your hat, bro. Like outsource that to somebody who has those skill sets, who knows that, because I could be the best of what I could do. But I can't take what you do and try to be the best at it, because you've taken a long time to master your skills. I'm not going to pretend to be like, oh, I could mix like fucking Tom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even going to pretend that shit. So at a certain point, you have to come to that as an artist or as a producer or as a whatever. You got to understand, okay, I really want to fine tune and niche and become a master at this particular thing. And then everything else, I could either outsource it or work with somebody else who is a master at that, and let them be the best at that particular thing. Mm-hmm. How do you come to, I know it's really hard, but how do you come to that line like, okay, I should hand this off to somebody who's a master at that?
I'm probably the worst interviewee to answer that question ever, because I guess in what I see it is different, because my whole life has been a period of mastering a lot of different disciplines, skill sets to get to where I wanted, which is the manifestation of the art. And that was something I don't really recommend people unless they're really, really willing to sacrifice a lot. If you're an extrovert, man, it's gonna be even harder for you. Yeah. But to sacrifice a lot to really get to that level. But I do admit that you can't do everything yourself, because I dedicated my whole life to make the song from silence to what you hear as best as I can. But then now that I'm realizing, especially working with Jodeci Bird and whatnot, is that, that's half the battle. Then you got your advertisement, you got your marketing, content creation. How do you get this to people that are going to check it out and absorb that content? So that's something me and Jodeci, at least for her, have been doing and working together on. But that's something that I admit I gotta outsource that too. Even though I have a music business degree, my main thing is producing and making that music, and because it's like I could do a good job at it. I could make a smart plan and execute it, but there's only 24 hours in a day.
Exactly. And what would I rather be doing? Would I rather be producing and making more music with Jodeci? Or would I rather be trying to figure out Facebook ads for this fucking song that we just dropped?
Exactly. I mean, there's certain points in everybody's career that you do have to do a little bit of everything. Of course. Yeah, but
if you don't have the resources,
if you don't have the resources, you do got to do it. You got to get your hands in the mud. But there's definitely stuff that you would have to outsource. With people, in terms of a producer working with an engineer, or if you just want to be an engineer, then you got to outsource, clients and whatnot. Or if you got to outsource, if you're just a mix engineer, you would outsource the mastering. My view of this is, whoever you do choose to work, they're now part of that art. Their vision is on that art. Their idea, they're now incorporated into there. And if you're gonna outsource something in the artistic sense, you always have to be okay with it not being 100% your vision. And if you are not okay with that, then you got to take my route and sacrifice to get it.
So you could keep it in your own realm, in your own wheelbox.
If you need to.
Yeah, if you need to.
If you need to. If you if you just want to focus on one thing and you kind of understand the logistics, there's 24 hours in a day. I'm just really interested in doing this.
Yeah.
I just want it to be
I
at a
just
certain
wanna be
level
the best
professional.
mixing engineer,
Yeah,
et
or I
cetera,
just want to
et
be the best producer.
Yeah.
But then choose who you work with that also has a similar vision and that you can trust what they output. You can trust their artistry. You can trust their decisions, and you can trust that y'all can come together and compromise and talk over and mold a vision together.
Wow, bro, those are really keys right there. Those are gems that you're dropping because it does require a lot of compromise. And if you're not willing to compromise on your vision artistically, it's hard. And like you said, communication is very key to know
absolutely.
if you have the same vision. Because somebody could be like, you're trying to do like a trap song and they're trying to do like a house song or some shit.
Yeah.
And you make a song that's actually trappish, but then they mix it like a house song and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, and and the reason it doesn't come out is because that was not what it was agreed on
Exactly.
in the beginning. If that's what it was agreed on, it would have been.
That's a hard thing though, man. It's hard. I've realized the harder, for me, I'm an extrovert. So it's easy for me. Like, you know this. Like, I met you guys with the Flex. I met all you guys and we like linked up and it's easy for me to talk to people, right?
Yeah.
I've come to realize that it's not easy for everybody to talk to people like it is for me.
Yeah.
And I like to get to the grain of things, so I like being very transparent. I don't like beating around the bush.
No,
but I've realized other people don't have that skill set, right? To and it's hard to communicate with other people if they don't want to open up for whatever reason. They feel like they're gonna hurt your feelings or there's gonna be an argument or whatever. For whatever reason, they don't really say like, yo, nah, man. In reality, I didn't want it to sound like this. In reality, I wanted it to come more close to sounding like this. Like that's something that communication is very key and it's something you have to work on.
Yeah, it is something you have to work on. And as somebody who dedicated a lot of time into the different disciplines of music, because doing just music and doing just engineering, very, very different.
Yeah.
One is very, very artistic based with a little bit of science and mathematics, and one is very, very heavily science and mathematics based, where a lot of music engineers will often think, no, I'm just doing creative work, but because they didn't learn the physics behind it, everything they're pulling up, all the plugins they're pulling up, all the ways they're painting the sound is all guesswork.
Yeah.
Is all I think that's what it's doing. Not I know exactly what's coming in and what's coming out of the
Exactly.
of
Like
the
I don't know the
process.
parts of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. The parts of the equation, exactly. I just put this equation in there, it spits out this number. I like this number.
I like it. That's it. But they don't know. Okay, it's because I put this with this.
And if
with
they
this.
don't know, if they understood the equation, then they can manipulate the factors in the equation to spit out exactly what
Every
they want.
time, also.
Every time, no guesswork.
No guesswork.
Just execution.
Yeah.
But that's hard because music is hard, engineering is hard, producing is hard, and when you have people that are all doing different parts of it, you're taking very complex series of work and trying to have three people with different visions come together
Without communication most of the time.
And the communication is the difficult part because the musician doesn't have the same vernacular as the engineer,
Exactly.
as the producer. So it's having that vernacular to know what people are referring to when they're describing their ideas.
Yes.
And being able to hear a description of a sonic idea, manifest it in your head really quickly to play it how it would play out, and be like, okay, I think that this is what he wants to do. I think that the best way to do it is in that manner, and these are the tools that I'm gonna use to execute what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're 100% on point with that. The vernacular, it's just like, it's so hard to express things that you want to do creatively because you could hear it or see it in your head, but to get that vision and actually say it so somebody else can understand
so somebody else could understand
and interpret it.
And it's a lot of funny ways because there's no real standard way of saying it. I'll be in
Exactly.
every recording engineer that's worth their salt, that's cut their teeth on the trenches of recording and whatnot. They'll tell you that a lot of people come up with crazy ways to say things like, "Hey, engineer, make the beat go underwater." And as an engineer, you're like, "Make the beat go underwater." You gotta know that he's talking about putting a low pass on it.
Yes. Make it lo-fi.
Yeah, you gotta understand that. But the artist, he doesn't know the vernacular low pass.
Yeah.
He doesn't
know that stuff.
He doesn't know that stuff, and because that's not his focus. That's not his what he's gunning for.
Yeah.
So having that vernacular, and that's what also helps you work with other people, is being able to interpret what other people are saying into what you know.
Wow, yeah, bro. I tip my hat off to you, bro. Now that you're doing this professionally, you're doing this full time. You've worked with a lot of great artists that could vouch for your work, and your work stands for itself. It's dope. You've been doing it. You've been doing it in the back. You've been doing it
I've
behind
been doing
the
it in the
scenes.
background, really. And I've always told people that was what I kind of wanted to do. I just wanted to be in the background of the scenes and everything. So much. I gotta actually start posting on my IG. I haven't posted in 2 years. It's
man. Now comes the harder part, which is marketing all the good shit that you've done, and
all the good stuff
and
that
all
I've
your
done.
artists and all that other stuff that you're working on.
That's definitely something I should be doing. I've been slacking on that, just working on the backgrounds and whatnot. Luckily, it's been working well for me and whatnot.
It's worked great for you. You know what I'm saying? You have this opportunity now in front of you because of all the things that you sacrificed and everything that you got to this place.
Yeah.
But now you got to get out there, bro. People need to get to know more of your work. Like, that was me on that shit. That made that shit sound like that.
Yeah, that's coming. It's coming.
So moving forward? What's your like projection for now? You're doing a lot more producing. Yeah. You're taking on one artist. Are you gonna take on more artists? Are you trying to grow that IP?
Yeah, I'm trying to grow that IP with Jodeci Bird right now. Mainly because we have a really, really good working relationship that she lets me do my complete 100% of my vision. Where as long as she, we could set up the meaning of the song, the context of the song.
Yeah.
Because she's interested in the message and delivering the message. And then my part is to make that music deliver the message. And she gives me a lot of artists wouldn't do that. A lot of artists is like, no, I just want you to make the beat. I'm going to make the melodies and the rhythms and
everything
and the words, and it's going to fit in the way I want to and whatnot. But with her, she just has the words, and she has a lot of this poetry, which is great because that's the one area I lack in.
Yeah.
I'm out of all the musical elements, my poetry is the least sharpened. But she comes in, and I'll read the poetry, and I'll dissect the messages. And then sometimes we'll take some of the bars and we'll change them up, but we'll keep the same message because the message is the most important part of what she wrote.
Yeah.
And then essentially I'll create the song, because a lot of times when I'm making these productions, not just beats, I like to make productions. I like to make a story, a musical story happen from beginning to end, that evolves and progresses and changes and tells a narrative. So as I'm constructing it, I hear the melodies. Like as I'm making the background music, I'm hearing the melody, I'm hearing the rhythm, I'm hearing everything as I'm making one part.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I always say, like the jukebox. The song is already done in my head. I'm just not exactly sure what the words are saying.
You're just trying to compose it.
Yeah,
as it's playing in your head.
Yeah, but it's in my head. It's like someone going, "I never see my name.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no words, it's sounding crazy, but the melody and the enunciations and the power between certain words and certain accents on certain melodic things like that I hear it very, very crisp. And she allows me to lay down those melodies, lay down the structure of the song, and tell her like, hey, I think that this is the best way to get that message out, to have somebody absorb that message, to have somebody be hit with that and be like, wow.
Yeah, I mean that's unique because a lot of artists don't like being molded like that. They don't want to try to get molded. They feel like
want to try to get molded and
but a lot of them need that molding. At the same time, I know what it is to try to be an artist and be like, oh, I know what I'm doing because this is my vision. But at the same time, it's like, no, I need somebody who has been in this particular situation and knows how to mold what it is that my vision is, right? Give up some control of what my vision is to try to, so it can actually come to fruition to where I want it to be,
Yeah.
That's a grown-up move. It's hard to do that as an artist.
It is very hard. That's one of the reasons, working with her is fabulous.
That's what's up, man. When can we hear a lot more music coming from what's your production house? What, have you named your production house?
I'm just Tom Brazy, man.
Tom Brazy?
I'm just Tom Brazy. That's Tom Brazy music, whatever you want to
call
it.
Tom Brazy music. Y'all
me.
heard it here first. Tom Brazy music.
Yeah. But yeah, we got a few things coming out. We have a feature pack that we're dropping. A few people were getting in touch with her and paying for features to be featured in her songs. So we have a set of tracks that we have a lot of different people on, and we're gonna drop that
Okay.
next. And then right after that, we're gonna start to promote the next song. It's gonna be called Priceless. Hopefully, we're not exactly sure.
Yeah, it's up in the air right now. It's question.
Yeah, it's mainly up to her and
Yeah.
whatever really she decides. But from what I know and what I'm working on, Future Pack's coming out next, and then we're gonna hype up the next music video.
That's
It's
what's
gonna be
up,
another
bro.
really dope song. And we have actually like 3 other songs already pretty close to completion or very well cooked up that are also in the wings that are gonna be the next music videos after that. So it's a good like 5-6 months of work already
Done.
already planned, done,
Yeah.
rotating,
Ready to go.
So yeah, that's one of the things I really do love working with her is that we get to organize things. We get to set hey, like let's a lot of artists will come in and be like, hey, I just got the song done. Let's get the music video done in a week and release it and stuff. And even Jodeci was very excited to get this stuff done, especially when she first heard WYD and was like, oh, let's get. And I had to tell her like, no, let's wait a month. Let's get the music video done. As soon as the music video is at least done shooting, then we can take the background footage and the little clips and start using those as promotion while the editor is getting the video ready. Just kind of always having work being done while other work is being done.
I feel you. Yeah, that's like a little like a system that you've created with her.
Exactly, a system where there's always work getting done.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, are you taking on any new productions? If people want to reach out to you, work with you, how does that work?
If they want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me on my IG, Tom Brazy Beats. Let's talk about
Tom Brazy Beats.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you spell it out?
TomBrazyBeat.
Okay, no underscore, no nothing. Tom Brazy Beats.
Tom Brazy Beats.
Okay. And they can hit you up for rates and all that stuff?
Yeah, y'all can hit me up for rates and whatnot. I'm a little bit packed these next few weeks. I don't know when this episode comes out.
Yeah, probably like in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then by then, hit me up, see what's up. Y'all can reach out for that. But yeah, I'm taking work on selective projects depending on if they could afford the rate one, if they could also work with the time windows and whatnot. But yeah, reach out. I'm working also with a few different artists, mainly Jodeci Bird, but I have like a few side projects that I had already started working on with different artists around the city. Shout out Eugenics, shout out Kanice, shout out Alpha Zulu.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm always open to take on another side project. Yeah, so probably in 2 weeks or whatnot, it might be a little bit easier to take on. But hey, hit me up. We'll talk about it. We'll see.
That's what's up, dog. Thank you so much for swinging through the Outta podcast. I appreciate you and your time, my dog. I salute you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. No, it's been an honor, man. It's like my first interview. Hope to be one of many.
I mean, I hope to see you and your name up there in the Grammys. That's what I want to see, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I will. I will be there. And when I do get that Grammy,
holla at your boy.
I'm holla at you, and I'm gonna be there with sandals, man. I want everybody to know I never switched up. I'm gonna take that Grammy in sandals.
Take the Grammy in the sandals.
If they don't let me walk into the Grammys, I'm with sandals. I'm gonna walk in with shoes. When they call my name, I'm putting the sandals.
That's what's up, dog. Keep it nice and breezy, tropical as fuck, dog. Tropical.
Yeah, man. I always wear them. It's my life.
That's what's up, bro. I really appreciate you, Tom, for swinging through, sharing your insights, sharing some tidbits, education, motivation, and entertaining people out here. Like I said, I appreciate you. Everybody check out Tom Brazy Beats. If you like the podcast, you know what's up. Subscribe, share it with your friends. If you hate it, share it with your enemies. Just share this motherfucker, all right? Hasta la próxima. Peace.
Hasta la próxima.
Pues ya lo oyo, hermano. En éxito and triumphing out here, bro. Triunfando hasta la muerte, hermano. I want to thank my dog, Tom Brazy Beats, for coming onto the podcast, sharing his experience, educating and motivating us, and entertaining us, because all those stories are pretty entertaining as well. It's always good to see somebody succeed and get some keys along the way to their excellence. I salute you, Tom, and anybody else out there who's working in the field. I just keep your head up. You know what I'm saying? Things is popping, and South Florida is definitely one of those places where we're in the mix right now. Anything could pop off at any minute. With that in mind, take a minute, listen to Oro Fresco Music. We're on Spotify. We're on IG is Oro Fresco Music. TikTok, Oro Fresco. Just check out Oro Fresco. Let us know what you think about the music. Thank you so much for listening to the Bola Podcast, giving us a subscription, and giving us a like. Hasta la próxima. Que te crezca. Love you guys. Peace. Entonces, parce, que hola contigo. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you stream your podcast. I'm your host, D-Fig. Oh, also, we're on YouTube. Listo.